Hello, this is Gio. Hey, I'm in my pinball room again and I'm trying to solve another pinball problem. And the problem is with my Gottlieb James Bond 007 machine. I'll turn it on and I'll show you what's going on. And there you go. It generally works just fine. The only thing that I've been having trouble with are the displays. You can see the top three displays are nice and bright and the bottom ones are pretty dim. And I've been sort of living with this for a while, but you know, there is a really quick way to solve this problem, at least temporarily, and I'll show you how to do that today. Okay, so I went ahead and took the back glass off, and you can see the displays right here. They are 6-digit displays, and this is a Gottlieb System 8 machine. I have a Gottlieb System 1 machine right here, the Buck Rogers, and they actually use the exact same displays. Sometimes you'll get 4-digit displays, sometimes 6 digits, but these are all 6-digit displays right here. Now the old Gottlieb gains, they used displays known as vacuum fluorescent displays. And this is different than, let's say, the Williams or Stern or Bailey that used the plasma displays. And the fact that these are fluorescent displays are going to give us an advantage to trying to help resolve this dim issue. You can't do this technique on Sterns or Baileys or Williams games, only Gottlieb's. So taking a closer look at these displays, you can kind of see how they're made. You can see that they don't really have the standard 7-segment digits, but there's a couple extra digits right there for 1, so you have a 9-digit system. And if you kind of look closely, you see it looks like 5 horizontal lines. Now these little lines are really fine wires that go in front of the display right behind the glass, and there's just kind of they're not embedded in the glass, but they kind of sit in back of the glass in front of the display segments. So what those are the cathode filaments that run from one side, you can see the attachment point there, to the other side. So zooming in even closer, you kind of see a mesh in front of the actual digits. It's kind of a really fine mesh. Now this mesh is called, well, the grid, and they are behind those filament wires. And behind the mesh you get the actual segments, which are those white elements that actually make up the number. And what those are the anode portion of the display, and they're kind of covered with a phosphor material that actually glows when excited by electrons, which are emanating from the filament wire itself. So I'm not going to get too technical in this video, but I just want you to know that essentially the driving force behind the glow of these numbers is electrons that are emanating from these filament wires. Now these filament wires for the 6-digit display is powered by a 5-volt AC current. For the 4-digit displays, they're more like 3 volts AC. And the general consensus is that over time, those filament wires become oxidized for some reason, and that limits their ability to transmit electrons. Essentially, the 3 or 5 volt current that is going through them heats up those filament wires to a point just before they start glowing, so you don't actually see them, but they heat up and transmit electrons. And those electrons, when the mesh and the segment numbers are positively charged, fly right into those segments and they glow on that phosphor. Now this issue has been known for a long time, and a lot of pinball enthusiasts have noticed that with time, if you let Gottlieb machines sit for a while, sometimes the displays dim the first time you turn them on. And after you run them for, let's say, a few minutes to an hour, they tend to brighten up. And people think that that charging effect, it's not really a charging, but essentially you are heating up those filament wires and you're sort of burning off that oxidized crud that formed on them, and they will burn brighter. But that is only good for a limited extent, and after time you just can't get these things to brighten up, and they remain dim, and sometimes you can't see them at all. Now if you do have a Gottlieb display that you can't see, you may want to just turn off all the lights and see if there's even the faintest glow coming from them. Normally they're not totally black, but there is a slight glow. And that glow kind of tells you that it's those filament wires that are crudded up, and this technique will help remove that crud. And this is all you need. This is a 9-volt AC to DC adapter, and this basically converts your wall AC current into a DC 9-volt charge. Okay, so what you want to do, okay, most people have these kind of adapters. You just want to make sure that they're around 9 volt, maybe 10 volt, etc. No more than 12 volts. And you want to grab them, you want to cut off the ends, and you need to get some alligator clips. And this is what I did here. You can see I cut it off. I found the positive end and negative end of the wires that come out of it, and I attached some alligator clips. Okay, and so what we're going to do with this 9-volt adapter is we're going to take these alligator clips and plug those into the positive and negative ends of the display. And then we're going to plug this thing in and watch what happens. Now those filament wires will start glowing, and the reason is because they're used to having that 5-volt AC current. This is a 9-volt DC current, and so we're essentially overcharging those filament wires, and they're going to really heat up, and they're going to glow a red color. You don't want them glowing more than red. If they start glowing white, you have too much voltage and you should change your adapter. But they're going to be glowing red for a while, and you're going to count to around 10 and then unplug your adapter. And that 10-second charging will help burn off a lot of that oxidation from those filament wires, and that should allow that display to glow bright just like new. Okay, so the first thing I did turn off the power to the machine, and now I'm just going to unplug this connector so the display is actually not plugged into anything. You do not want this connector plugged in because you will send some of the current, the 9-volt current, into your connector. Okay, so next you'll see all these little metal tabs here going into the glass display. What we're interested in is in the most left pin and the most right pin. We're gonna, now I don't have, my adapter is not plugged in yet, but we're gonna plug in our positive to the left side, just like that, and our negative to the right side, just like that, making sure they're not touching anything else. Okay, so my alligator clips are plugged in. I have a little outlet right here where I'm going to plug in. And so when I plug in my adapter to my power right here, those will start glowing. The filament wires will start glowing red, and we're going to count to 10. And I'm plugging it in right about now, and we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to unplug it. Okay, so we're done. They didn't glow that brightly. I hope you saw a little bit of glow in the video. But we'll unplug the alligator clips, replug in the connector here. I can do this with one hand. There we go. And we will turn on this machine and hopefully see a difference. Again, I think if you could remember, the two lower displays were kind of equally dim. The upper ones were bright, and we'll go ahead and power this up and see if it made a difference. And there you go. Yeah, actually, it's not as bright as the upper ones, but it is much, much brighter. That one was actually the dimmest. I'm sorry for the wave effect. That's just a camera effect. This one's still a little bit dim. Actually, this one's kind of been charging with time. But I think maybe I'll do another 10-second count with that one and go ahead and move to this one and see if I can get that one charged up, and then we'll put the back glass up and see how it looks. And there you go, the final results. Now they look a whole lot better. I think they're a little bit dimmer than the ones on top, but I think the lower right one was almost dead yesterday when I initially turned this thing on. It did recover a little bit, but this is so much better than what I had before. And now if I play this game a lot, the oxidization will probably not come back for a while, but if I turn the game off and not play it for a while, the first time I turn it on, it might be a little dimmer. It might stay charged or really bright like this for a year or two before I have to do this again. But eventually it will oxidize and you might have to do this again to your machine. Now after a certain number of times doing this, you get kind of a limited return on your investment, and they just won't brighten up after a while, and you may just have to look into getting either new glass or new displays altogether. But this will help you keep your displays nice and bright for a while. And so there you go. I hope this video helped you out, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.